Welcome to Increase, where it is my task to increase, illustrate, and inundate you with information, knowledge, and overall help cause you to think. And I'm your host, Alpheus Gibbs Sr. Hey, what's going on, good people? Hey, welcome to Increase. I am your host, Alpheus Gibbs. This is episode 18, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to Increase Podcast. Today's subject is really fun. I think it's going to really touch a lot of things that's going on in the world today in a kind of sidebar kind of way, but I believe that we're going to really get some things cooking and really get some things going. Again, I want to appreciate everyone for joining us. And so, today we're in the month of April. We've gotten through so much of this year already. And, I just really begin to think about some things, as it pertains to life, especially, my time leading up to my 40th birthday. And then it comes and I enjoy it. And I'm surrounded by some wonderful, amazing people. And then I really just start asking myself some questions, especially as I'm preparing to do some presentations in front of just leaders, entrepreneurs, and those the like. And my question really has formulated around this one question, so to speak, and that is faith enough? And that's what I want to ask you guys. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. Those of you who are going to be listening to this on other podcast platforms, but I want to ask the question: is faith enough? Because we oftentimes kind of subscribe faith to a religious thing, but really looking at it holistically, looking at it really in a big totality, is faith enough? And then not only is faith enough, does that warrant me to have the lifestyle that I want, the lifestyle that I dream about, the lifestyle that I think about, I see on social media platforms, all of those things. So that is the question: is faith enough? The Bible talks about faith without works is dead. we have to put forth effort into the things that we believe in. The world, the corporate America says, put your money where your mouth is. In other words, stepping out on what you believe in. Someone wrote, faith helps set the foundation. However, it's not enough. Absolutely. So and that's really, I think that's where I am right now. Not just because of, the Bible and what it states, but just looking at it holistically. We all believe in ourselves to some degree that we can do and accomplish many things. But what is the hang up, or what is the hindrance from us really having that life that we want, being the better version of ourselves that we've dreamed of, actually having and possessing things that we see in magazines and we watch on commercials and the like. I think that a lot of times we have faith like moments, but I think if we really had the faith that we proclaim, that we would actually walk out on that. We'll like actually begin to move in those areas and really, even if we fail, but really just step out at least and try it. I think these times that we live in is really challenging to us. And again, I'm preparing to make a presentation, especially even on today. Um, and I'm really looking at this and going, wow, we say that we have faith, but a lot of times we really don't. A lot of times we have moments where we've convinced ourselves of the possibilities, but really haven't said to ourselves, this thing can truly happen. And not only this thing can happen, but let me go out and begin to work toward bringing it to pass. One amazing person that is in my life, she really just brought out um a vision board, and it wasn't so much as like I've never seen them before, but I really didn't know that there were so many different kinds of vision boards. And it really began to open up some things for me as a leader to understand that it's good to have pictures and images in front of me to say, this is what I want. It's something else to put plans into position so that you can achieve those goals. I truly believe that, right, faith isn't enough, right? But I think if we really broke down what faith means to us, what it means to you, what it means to what not only what it means, but also what it looks like. One person I admire as far as business is concerned that I know of, as far as the things that they've done that I know of, is Richard Branson. And the reason why I like Richard Branson is because one of the first stories I read about him was the fact that he was getting ready to get on a plane and they were overbooked, and he got frustrated and he ended up renting out a plane, a private jet, and he sold seats to ride on this private jet. And this sparked him into being an entrepreneur of success. And so I really began to look at that as a person, but as a business owner. And I began to go, what is it about myself, or what is it about my peers, people that I'm around, that we aren't in that position, or we haven't manifested those things like a Richard Branson, or like a Damon John, or other individuals who took their idea and really began to capitalize on that. And when you talk to them or when you see them in interviews, one of the things that they talk about is their faith not only in themselves, but faith in their brand. And they begin to do everything possible to bring it to pass. Not saying that that they've never failed, but what they did was they got comfortable in their failure to know that I'm going to fail at something at some point, but that failure is not me. It's just a situation for me to learn from. And so, again, when you start really looking at faith, when you start looking at it and going, is this enough? Are we hiding behind saying, I'm believing for this or I have faith to do this, but really not taking into account what really needs to be done? Like, for instance, even with this podcast, like, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, and that is, I know I'm going to have sponsorship. I know that I'm going to be presenting other businesses to market their business and so on. And so it's not so much as I'm afraid that this is going to be well or it's going to fail. But what I am doing is making sure that I have enough content so that when people do come, they have enough in them that they could binge watch. They have enough increase that they could sit there in their families and they can digest information, like I do when I watch YouTube, or like I do when I'm looking at other websites that I go to for information to know how to do a thing. And so I'm building a platform so that others can get on my platform and prosper from that platform, because I know that it's not about me, but it's about the quality, and it's about the consistency, and it's about the amount of value I want to give to people, right? That is truly the name of the game, is to give people value, that they're not just wasting their time when they're listening to it, or they're not here because they're like, oh, you're a pastor and you may speak a word or something, but really go, this young man has a platform where he wants to help individuals. He wants to see others prosper and succeed, and he's giving them free game. He's giving them, that opportunity to build their brand, or even get their message out there, right? And so I think that that is one of the things. Like, I took faith not only in myself and in the God that I serve, but I also have faith in others who are going to come and be a part of this experience, the increased experience. And so what I'm saying to you guys is this, is that, your faith, not only in yourself, but in the God that you serve or whatever, but you also have to put feet to it. You got to put some action to it in order for it to grow. I think a lot of times we start out strong, and one of the reasons why we don't finish strong is because somewhere along the way our faith begins to waver, because we get hit with situations that we never thought we would have got hit with. And 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 one of the things that is so amazing about being an entrepreneur, or even for me as being a pastor, is the fact that I'm able to see the flaws in others and not condemn them, because I also see the flaws in myself. But also, and maybe it's because I'm a little naive in this regard, I also look at it from this perspective, and that is, I want to have faith in people just like I wanted someone to have faith in me and give me an opportunity. And so I feel like, and I think that a lot of times we don't have faith in people enough that they're going to do the right things, or that they're going to fail, or they're going to make mistakes, but also try to guide them still in the right direction. I've learned the hard way that in life, you can't, it's harder to steer a person with a hard turn versus little nudges along the way. When I was learning how to drive, learning defensive driving, they would tell us, when you get off the side, if your car veers off the side of the road, don't jerk the wheel, but kind of ease it over so that you can glide back onto the smooth surface. And I think a lot of times, even when it comes to our faith, when we get hit with life, when we get hit with situations, when we get hit with our own disappointment, then our faith is the first thing that takes a hit. And so it takes a hit because we're like, oh, I should have seen this, or I should have been stronger, or whatever. But the faith is not in that situation. The faith is in you continuing to make strides and steps toward the goal that you're going to meet. The plan that is set out before you, it hasn't changed just because you've lost a few people who were going to be supportive, or people who were supposed to come through and do things within the project, that they stop. The faith comes in that no matter what, I'm going to continue on. But it's not just enough for me to believe that it's going to continue on. I got to put the work in to doing it. Yes. Yes. Said faith is built through consistency. And I'm gonna be transparent. There are so many instances where I am inconsistent. Even with this podcast, I have to be consistent with it. Every Monday, every Tuesday, same time. My brother who does prayer on Facebook every day at noon. It takes consistency, and 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 it's in those moments where you're like, well, I'm gonna be late, or nobody's really on, so I'm not even gonna worry about it. People begin to associate that with your brand. They begin to associate that with what you're doing. And they begin to look at you as something is wrong. Why aren't they? And you're like, well, nobody's never on, so why should I care? Or why should you care? But the end of result is that people do care. And even if they're not on live, they watch the replays. And people, and you never know how you being consistent now begins to force others who are onlookers to be consistent. See, in order for them to see that you're inconsistent, they have to be consistent in watching you. And so as you're being consistent, your audience, whether you know it or not, is being consistent in following you and watching you. And so in your faith, every time you use your faith, you stretch your faith, by believing and by going after things that seem like it's insurmountable, seem like it's crazy. You're also stretching the people who are watching, because up until that moment they were catching up to you, because they've watched you use your faith. And so they watch you activate and move and be strategic in life. Yes, you got to have that unwavering faith. You got to have that faith that cannot be rocked, it can't be shaken. Not because things are not going to happen, or you have this great support system, but the unwavering faith comes that even when I'm knocked down, it doesn't mean that I stopped. I just took a pause. And so don't look at your pauses as a stop, but look at your pauses as just that, a pause. So our consistency in using our faith, our consistency in stretching ourselves, in essence, begin to stretch others around us. It really begins to put you in an arena wherein you're looking, saying, well, I need to build a team to help me carry out this vision. When in actuality, if you're consistent in doing whatever it is, whatever project you're working on, your team is going to formulate itself. One of the greatest stories that I've read and even heard was when the creator of Apple, Steve Jobs, was building his team. And what he would do was he hired people who were skilled in what they were doing and what he asked them to do. But in order for you to make it on the team, he wanted to see if you were just as obsessed as he was. So he would ask you various questions and put you in different scenarios to see how expansive your imagination was, because that was going to lead him to greatness. And he knew that he couldn't do it all by himself. And so what we, in essence, you who are leaders, you who are business owners, you who are husbands, you who are single parents, one thing that I say to you, and if I can encourage you with anything, is that you have faith in yourself, you have faith in the system that you've established. Continue in working in that establishment, but then also begin to share some of the things that you do, whether it's on social media or even with your friends. And the reason why I say that is because word of mouth is going to build your team. Not only will people begin to see you in what you do, but they're going to hear what it is and they're going to see the results of it. And so I was just reading the comments, sorry. And so as you are building your team. And as you're building it, and as you're getting people who are just as obsessed as you are with the end goal, and not only with the end goal, but with the development that is taking place, you're stretching them as they're stretching you. And as someone just wrote, and that's what builds stability. So when the storms come, you are anchored. We have shallow friends, um, not because they're just a comfort to us, but that's as far as your vision has gone. Your vision is shallow. Your outlook is shallow. And so, because of that, you attract those kind of people. When you start being expansive, when you start opening yourself up to other modalities of leadership, other modalities of movement, or how to handle certain situations, you begin to really understand what it means to not only be a leader, but not only that, but also how to stretch your faith. you know, there's nothing like, and I think it was this past week was Social Workers Appreciation Day. And if you ever hang around a woman or a man who is in social work, they'll begin to stretch you not only in how to view social issues, but they'll also begin to stretch you and cause you to question various things, that various ways of thinking that you've held true for many years. When you start hanging around people who are faith walkers, I'm talking about those people who will begin to tell you, listen, I'm going to buy a $500,000 building, and I'm not going to be able to put any money down. I'm not going to have to put any money down. And you ask them, how you going to do it? And they're like, I don't really know, but I just know it's going to happen. And all of a sudden, you keep walking with them, and you see them networking. You see them begin to make phone calls. They begin to not only get information, but they also begin to make connections with individuals and with people who are in the know, but are also connected so that they can make those things happen. When you got to get out of that place of isolation so that your faith can begin to open up doors for you, so that your faith can begin to move, so that now when your faith has opened up those doors, now your feet and your character and your integrity will keep you there and begin to develop you even the more. That's why I always tell my church that we're becoming you're becoming whatever it is that God has called you to do. You're becoming that. You may walk in whatever office, you may have whatever gift or talent, but you are in so many ways, in words, you're still becoming. Even as an expert, you're still becoming a better expert in that particular field. And so I think I just want to just share that with you, that faith isn't enough, but faith is the foundation. And that you got to begin to work the vision, work the dream, work the plan that you have, so that you can, in essence, have what you've been saying, and that everything that you've been saying, you'll be able to see it, and then you can share it with others and how they were able to create. I- I'm 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 enamored with the men that I have in my corner, because I spent so many years being away from men. I just had this thing where I just didn't want to be around them. But in the midst of that, God has sent me men to be around, and they're doing things on a greater level. And so a lot of times I sit back and I just listen at their conversation, and I see how they move. And so I'm learning how to put together a convention. I'm learning how to put together a luncheon. I'm learning how it is to handle high levels of business on a scale that I've never seen personally before. And I think that a lot of times we have to begin to stretch ourselves, that our faith, we've been hiding behind it, saying this is what I believe, but and not really putting feet to our faith, not really walking out what we truly believe. And so, uh, this podcast, I want to encourage you. I want to increase you in that knowledge. Don't be afraid to connect with people. Don't be afraid to share your past as well as your present, because in all of those things, you are the summation of all of that. But that's only the beginning. That's only right now. That's only a snippet of where you are. You got to start networking in order for your faith to really show forth what's inside of you. You know, it's one thing to say this is what I believe, this is what I want to do. It's something else when you can hang around some people. And here's another nugget. You got to be comfortable. Watch this, God Almighty. You got to be comfortable sitting in a high level of, and I hate to say this like this, but you got to get comfortable sitting in high levels of critical voices. You got to get comfortable sitting in high levels of critical conversations and critics. Why? Because not just these people who are low level, they're not trying to do anything, but higher levels of critics, because they have been where you're trying to go, but they're also going to tell you and help give you the blueprint to bring to pass your dreams. So even though they're critical, they're also in a position where they want you to win. And sometimes we get so enamored with the critical conversation and what they're saying, what critics are saying, that you miss the teaching points in which they're giving you. They're not telling you that that you're horrible, but what they're saying is right now this plan isn't going to work because not only the data shows this, but also this is who you are. You're trying to do something, you're trying to work on a TD Jakes level, and TD Jakes been doing this for many years. And you don't have his black book of connections. So you got to work within who you are, the portion that is yours, to achieve the goal that is authentically you. And so again, I'm gonna do something on my private page, on my page on Facebook, because there's something that I want to share with leaders and with those who are entrepreneurs that's outside of Increase. But I want to share some things that I've learned that I feel like is very critical in these next movements that we are in. How we're going to deal with crypto, how we're going to deal with the changing of the times, um, as it pertains to cancel culture and so on and so forth. But dealing with our topic today of is faith enough? I believe that my faith is just the beginning. That you have Michael Jordan like talent in wherever skill set in whatever place that you're in. I think that as you are listening to me now, you need to work on your soft skills, not only just active listening, but also in effective communication, not only just in speaking clearly so that the other person can hear you, but also being consistent in your movements, being crystal clear in your vision and in where you desire to go. Because we're so afraid to share because we think that someone else is going to take our thought and run with it. But what you don't understand is that even if they do it, they can't do it like you. And they may become even successful in it. But how many places do we have that you go and get fried chicken? Or how many places sell hamburgers? What you bring to the marketplace is so different that the marketplace is in need of your genius. They're in need of your skill set, because you don't just bring one thing to the marketplace. You bring that, your creativity, and you also bring your access. You speak to an audience that others cannot reach. And so, yes, you have faith enough to believe that it can be done, but now it's time to begin to implement steps so that now you can achieve each and every goal that you have. Yes, I believe. Here's how I'm going to take what I believe and bring it to pass. I've reached out to so many to help guide me on how to do some of the most simplest of things. Yes, I can Google a lot of things, but there's nothing like talking to someone who is experienced. You need that voice of experience to match not only what you're trying to do, but also to look at you, listen to you, and say to you, okay, Here is where you really are. Yes, everyone knows how to start a business. That's very simple. That's easy to do. Not many people think about trademarking their name. Not many people look at and understand what it is to really focus on a certain niche, breaking that niche down all the way to, the age demographic, the regional demographic. You have to you really need to formulate a focus group specifically for what it is that you want to do. Have you ever done a SWOT analysis? You can do that on anything, whether it's your marriage, whether it's a ministry, whether it's your business, whether it's you personally, whatever goal that you're trying to do. That analysis alone can be used to make a business plan. It's so much into anything that you want to do that even the most simplest of a concept can be broken down that even a 4-year-old can understand it and implement it. And so faith isn't enough, but faith lets us know that we have a foundation. And your foundation is only as strong as the work that was put into it so that it can stand. I think that as you continue out throughout your week, I think that you're going to look at your vision board and really go, I really haven't been crystal clear. Or you know what? I was really being selfish because most of the things that's on my vision board are things that's going to only benefit me. It's not going to leave a legacy. It's really not going to be impactful to my community. I think a lot of times when we do vision boards, it's so much of the glitz and the glamour that you really don't even understand that you're you need to really develop as a person before you even receive all of that stuff. Because once you receive it, do you have the character to maintain it? Do you have the integrity to multiply it? Do you have it within you to share that information to the next generation? That's one of the things. That's one of the key things. As I'm reaching out to different people to help me do this wealth expo, is really talking about wealth outside of money, wealth outside of things. But what are the principles that we are teaching our children and our children's children so that they can replicate at a quicker rate and a quicker time period than what we have? That is really the name of the game. That's when we really start getting into generational wealth, that I can teach the younger generation how to do it. How, are we teaching our younger generation even about faith? How to believe in themselves enough that despite them saying I don't have the skill set or even the know-how or whatever, that I can make it happen, that I can do it. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. I can do it. Now I need to be connected around some people who will help show me how to do it, who will help me to maintain it. Because at each level requires a different mentor. At each level, it requires a different teacher. At each level of faith and moving in life requires a certain skill set to achieve and to maintain where you are, right? So I'm cutting it short today because I'm getting ready to go. I'm preparing some stuff to go live. A friend of mine, she posted something, and I don't even think she even understood what she was posting. And she says it all the time. She goes, when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade. And immediately my mind went to several different things. And I'm going to reach out to her because I want to share some stuff with her. But man, you never know who you're inspiring, and you never know who you are giving the blueprint to, because they're watching your life, they're watching your movements. And as they're watching it, don't get jealous because it took you, weeks and months or years to develop it, and they're watching you and they're learning it quickly. That just means that you're so good at what you do, and what you're doing is so effective that you're teaching people inadvertently, without them even knowing it, and you're bringing about change. You're really changing the community and not even realizing it. I've been mentored by so many people who I possibly never even met or even will meet, but they're so amazing at what they do that I was able to replicate so much from just watching them. So, everybody, my Increase family, you guys have an amazing day. Listen, knock it out of the park this week. Keep your foot on the gas as you increase in your faith and increasing your steps. You got to make sure that before you can look at someone else and what they're not doing, that you're doing what you need to do and some. This is your boy, Alpheus Gibbs Sr. I love you guys. We will talk and have more dialogue in the weeks and days to come. So I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. Y'all have a great day.